Welcome back to the FACEIT Ignite Halo European Open, where before the break we saw Monaco Purple taking down First Boss, which is basically exactly what you guys said. The maps played out pretty much exactly as you said, Lethal.
Different maps, same scoreline, basically. It was kind of predictable, like it happened before, it was going to happen again, but we said it anyways. It's like Nick and the guys, they're here to play for fun, have a good time, have a laugh, which they have done anyway. And even though the series wasn't close in terms of the actual scores, but at least in some of the games they tried to make things happen, but it just wasn't the case. But we saw the odd flashy play here and there.
Yes, exactly. Well, and I mean, it's the same for you over there, Harry. We were sort of talking about it when we were watching the game backstage.
Yeah. Thought maybe they could have taken a game here or there, but for Demonica, that's a perfect bounce back. You know, when you play against a team like Tox, it can be very easy to get down on yourself, but I feel like that's the perfect bounce back series, as we just heard from XXL in that interview. He and the team feel confident, so hopefully they can make it to the bracket.
Well, and we've loved hearing your questions coming in at home, and also you guys can get involved with our Astro Gaming giveaway. Make sure you follow the link on your screen, and we've also got Astro headsets being used by every single player on the stage, which is lovely. I know that they've been really rating those. It's nice to have some really good quality gear, getting back to those old days of Astros being everywhere, which is really, really great. I know I've spoken to some of the players, and they've been very happy with all the equipment we've been using, so make sure you head on over to that link to be in with a chance of winning some really cool Astro goodies. But getting back to the games, we are now in a position where we're seeing a team which is 1 for 2. They really have only one more chance left if they want to stay in, if they want to be heading to tomorrow's Championship Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one because, as you saw there from some of the replays, they tried to give it a go, don't get me wrong, but it just wasn't to be. And I said it before, is the fact that before we saw one of the teams, actually Demonica Purple, they did try to, do something against Tox. We knew it weren't going to happen anyway, and like I mentioned before, in this group, you've got 3 of the top teams kind of very separated, kind of skill with the other 2. These 2 at least had a semi-close series, but we knew what was going to happen. We predicted this, and to be honest, it's just one of those things which we knew was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can see with some of the plays here. You said before we went live, it really was a Jesus show, right, on that last map?
Yeah. I did kind of predict him to be the player to stand out in this series, if you'll remember, and wow, he didn't disappoint.
Exactly. Well, yeah, we can definitely see from some of these plays, they were, unstoppable. It was just a repeat of form, right? And it's difficult sometimes when you're coming up against another team, especially with First Boss having that bye. That's the only team they've played has been Demonica Purple, so it's very difficult to come back with that, right?
Yeah, so far from what we saw, Demonica Purple, they were just playing textbook Halo, basically. And even in some of the situations, they didn't even need to hold a setup. They were pushing quite aggressively to try and get some extra frags on the board, trying to pad their stats a little bit, get a bit of a high KD by the end of it. And in the end, it wasn't even necessary, but they did their job, they done it down 3-0, not too much of a surprise.
Well, we've got our player of the game, as you can see up on screen. The reactions in the green room to this one were quite spectacular. That was a very impressive play.
Now listen, right, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or anything, right?
You've already started. But
yeah, too late, Harry.
He could have just shot it with his BR. Why are you wasting sniper ammo on a barrel?
Slightly flashy.
Yeah,
yes, for a YouTuber, why not? Stick it on your YouTube channel, makes sense, might get some hits, bit of ad revenue. But for me, it's a waste of resources. I'm sorry, it's a no from me.
Well, I thought it was pretty interesting when you were speaking to XXL about their sort of road to potentially going to tomorrow, right? They were pretty confident that their next game, they're going to win, and that's going to be it. They're not going to go to this 2-2. It's quite a good state to be in as a team, right?
Oh, definitely. You don't want to be in that, as you said, in that 2-2 state where if you lose, you potentially don't make the bracket. And for me, it's all about who they play. It's all about the matchup that they get for that kind of 3-1 situation. Because when you're 3-1, again, you put yourself in that great part of the bracket. You put yourself further up, maybe get yourself a better chance if you do finish higher than other teams' Swiss records in your group. You get placed in that upper bracket rather than the elimination bracket where if you lose once you go home. So the next matchup for them, I'm going to be keeping an eye on because it's very, very important that they get a favourable matchup to allow that to happen, to give them a better chance tomorrow.
Well, and speaking about the next matchups, we're going to be heading into Aspire versus Back2Classic, which I think is going to be pretty exciting. We were talking about it before we went on air. Aspire being one of those teams that we've seen coming on the rise. They did place 3rd in the EU qualifiers for this tournament, which wasn't expected so much. We kind of thought they'd be in that top 2. But what are you expecting coming into this, Lethal?
Well, I was quite surprised. I thought they were going to take 2nd and quite comfortably. You could clearly see they didn't, but we'll have to see how much practice they put in because with this entire squad, it's extremely weird. it's very rare I've seen a team like this where 3 out of the 4 players on this team are shot callers, tacticians, IGLs, and even their coach is a former IGL tactician as well. So technically 4 out of 5. Then the other person is Rights. He just comes in, does the business, does his job, and then that's it. But even with Rights, he is a good all-rounder to kind of help things out. But there's a few questions I want to ask. So for example, like, you know, who's going to be their main sniper in the team? Is it going to be Rights? Is someone else going to have a go? We'll have to see. And you would think that with so many tacticians on this team, this will be one of the best strategical lineups we have.
This should be very methodical. Is he sniffing that microphone? He's sniffing that microphone.
Scratch and sniff
He
mic,
just wants to double check.
Has someone been munching on that mic or something?
Maybe he has a different taste. I don't know.
Well, maybe.
That was a
But
weird cut-off.
straying away from the conversation here, guys, we want you guys at home to get involved. We want to see who you're voting for. ! Vote space red is going to be for Aspire, and then ! Vote space blue, that is going to be for Back2Classic. Because before we get into the heavy analysis, we're kind of already preempting that it's probably going to be Aspire who's going to be taking this.
More than likely, yeah, more than likely. When you look at the names on the roster alone, for sure. But at the same time, Back2Classic have those players who have put the hours in. As we've said before, Fatal Ferocity is someone that I earmarked before this event to maybe make some waves and make a name for himself. This being, if I remember correctly, his first actual live event. So now's the time to make a name for himself. And what a better match to do it than against players who the likes of Snipe Down, the likes of, you know, those caliber of players have earmarked as players that they're looking out for in this tournament. You take them down, all of a sudden your name is well and truly on the map.
I mean, you're looking at the seeding, and they're very close together in there, in fact. So it's definitely going to be one of the closer games we've seen today. We have seen a lot of 3-0s as well, to put that out there. There's definitely been some clear favourites in the running. But just coming into the maps for this particular matchup, do you think Aspire just have the edge based on their practice?
With Aspire, it's going to be based on the most strategical maps. So I expect them to be good at Guardian Ball. I expect him to be good at Construct King as well. Now at CTF, again, maps like that and Pit CTF, it's very questionable because I don't know who the sniper is. I know Jimbo will probably be one of the main slayers considering the circumstances. And when he was on the top European team at the time, the problem with him is that he lost confidence in himself. You could see that he was one of the main slayers, but just not on that team. I'm not sure it's just due to the fact that the other 3 members were very aggressive and he couldn't really keep up. He turned more into the support player. But when you go to his other lineups now, like this one, this is kind of his stepping stone. This is the team for him where he can main slay, he can do what he wants to do. It's just the other team with most respectful and whoever the third would be at the time, be Kimbo or Snipe Drone, it was quite hard for him because even though the slaying power would spread, it wouldn't spread in his favour because he was just a little bit more passive in comparison. But with this other team as well, it's going to be a bit of a weird one. Like I mentioned before, I've played Sandals a lot of times. They've been really grinding day and night any way they can. Fatal Ferocity, like Harry's mentioned earlier, I've only played him a couple of times online. I've last time playing an offline environment was probably first round of an FFA back at I-53 or 2, something like that. So it's been quite a while, but he is a decent player. But Aspire, it's not going to be a total walkover, but it will be quite predictable anyway.
Well, definitely. And I mean, just talking about the sort of LAN environment, again, you said it's been a while since some of these guys have been playing on LAN. Surely that might potentially impact their team performance as a whole.
It can do, but with Aspire, they've been together for such a long time, and they've been to so many events, if it's in EU or NA. They've got so much experience now, I'm pretty sure it shouldn't affect them in any way. Halo 3 is, like I mentioned before, one of those games where, because the team shot skill has dramatically increased so much compared to most of the others, it does fall into the prey where morality and mentality can really be a big factor. Sometimes mentality can go as far as if you're in a really good mood or very positive or very hyped up, it will improve your aim. It annoys me a little bit because when I see against another team who's very hyped up, I know the accuracy is going to be a lot better than what it normally is online.
Well, speaking of that, we're going to head into our predictions. Harry, I'm going to start with you. I think we know what team you're going towards, but what scoreline are we going to be seeing?
I will be very surprised if Aspire Esports drop a map. And that's no disrespect at all to Back2Classic. I'm actually kind of excited to see what kind of fight they can bring to this Aspire Esports roster. But when you look at the likes of Jimbo, Foxy, Flux, Rights, every single one of those players has played in the Halo World Champion. You combine that with Ramirez behind them. Yeah, this really should be a 3-0 series. This should be a quick one for them, and if it's not, I would certainly be concerned.
Yeah, it would be rude if I said it wasn't going to be a 3-0 no matter what. Don't get me wrong, a couple of these players have really grinded it, but sometimes it's just not enough.
Yeah, and we're going to see if the chat agrees with you as we see our Twitch chat predictions. I'm very excited to see that because they didn't agree with you at all in the last series. But yes, leaning towards the side of Aspire Esports. I don't think that is pretty surprising at all.
To be fair, when a Twitch chat ever right, it's very rare, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Ooh.
Wait, are we still live? Hang on, are we still live? I didn't realise. Anyway, what?
Yeah, quickly move on for that one, Harry. So Halo, yes, let's get back to that.
Halo 3. Should be a good series.
Yes, I think it'll be a good series. But just sort of speaking a little bit more specifically about the maps, is there any particular game type? I mean, I know that you said you've got a lot of in-game leaders in the Aspire Esports roster. Is that something you're particularly excited to see the tactical maps coming out in them?
I think with Aspire, the weakest game types, maybe stuff like, the common ones like Heretic TS or maybe Onslaught Flag, anything which involves more game sense and faster paced action. But if it's a lot larger maps, a lot more strategical, because this is a very methodical team. But I say methodical, but it depends how much practice they've put in. They should do, and I hope they have done as well, just due to the fact that you've got so much wealth of knowledge on that team. You would think that they should be able to beat every team in Europe, considering the circumstances, but I think the slaying power will hinder them and the pace just a little bit slightly.
Well, we're going to see exactly what happens in this series as we head over to our casters. Dan, Richard, take it away.
Surprise, surprise, it's Mark. I'm here. Hi, Dan. How are
Hello,
you?
I'm
not
great.
Richard. I'm Mark, but I did slide in because Rich needed a break, to be fair to him.
I mean, we were coming
too
off.
hard.
It's
got a
actually
son to look after.
Tom disappeared. Is what's happened. We don't know where T2's
Where's
gone.
T2?
So
The authority's been alerted again.
yeah.
Oh no.
He's been locked up.
He's only been free for
Hashtag free T2.
for a few hours.
But good. I'm looking forward to this one. I'm looking forward to seeing one of the top European teams going up against someone else. Well, just because we've been watching like
Where's Tom?
some of the lower-ended
Can we get Tom
teams,
back?
and I'm looking forward to seeing one of the top teams now.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. It's the first time we've really seen one of the European powerhouses, so to speak. I can't stop giggling at you now, sorry. Go up against one of the opponents here, and we can kind of compare and contrast with what we've seen some of the other squads put together as far as performances are concerned. Both of these teams obviously coming in with a 2-0 record, I think, at the moment. So looking pretty good as far as the Swiss format. One more win, and obviously they'll make it through to tomorrow to Championship Sunday. Looking forward, of course, to getting into Championship Sundays and seeing some of the big boys lock horns down.
Yep, so Aspire, as you can see on your screens there, some veterans of the scene, and they should be able to make easy work of the other team you now see on your screen, Back2Classic. Although they are 2-0, they have been able to get this far, so who knows what they can achieve here in this series.
Well, we're going to start this one off with the Spiers Esports, as you would expect. That's going to be Foxy, the man who actually picks up that sniper rifle. Interested to see how he can put that to use. Obviously, Foxy coming back and kind of reigniting that fire, not to use the pun on Ignite, obviously the event that we're currently at here. Kind of found that competitive drive once again to play some Halo 3 after kind of stopping playing some Halo 5, and here's some nice shots to start this off.
Yeah, I think when you get an event so close and it's so local to you, especially being in England, why wouldn't you compete? Why wouldn't you go back to your roots and actually show what you're made of? And that's going to be a nice early, easy cap right off the bat for Aspire. And all it was just a simple push at the beginning, getting a couple of kills and knowing where to position yourself to ensure they could get the flag run.
Well, not only that, Foxy as well was aware that those rockets hadn't been picked up and juggled them all the way back to Jimbo, having put the flag in. Jimbo was there with a little celebratory presence. So thanks for running that objective, Jim. Here's some rockets for you to do some damage with. And a couple of players do fall here for Aspire Esports, and Back2Classic trying to give as good as they can get. But as I say, that 3 players fall, and it's going to be Fatal Ferocity who has to go up against the ferocity of Jimbo's sniper rifle.
Maybe a slight mistake trying to pull the flag as well. I know when you're going down, sometimes you think, well, why not pull it? It might just come out of something, but instead he could have maybe repositioned, tried to jump out of the way of a couple of those grenades, and he might have been able to survive and actually do something in the lobby. As now Jimbo has a sniper rifle as well. He does fall. Otherwise, that could have been a bit deadly if he had any bullets left. Just start applying a little bit of pressure to Aspire, because now Back2Classic, you can see 4 of them starting to move in together.
Yeah, I like this push as well. If they can potentially lock down some of these bottlenecks, like that grenade's going to help to do, they might be able to get this flag on the move here. And Aspire Esports, just before you know it, are actually on the back foot. If Fatal Ferocity could pick up a kill there, that would have been huge. But now it's going to be up to his teammate, who does fall. So that flag is going to be returned home as Foxy comes in, cleans up, gets his brush out, Picks up a nice, simple double kill.
Yeah, a really good push off spawn from Aspire Esports. Yes, okay, Back2Classic had a little bit of control and they were pushing into the flag, but Aspire just said, look, let's wait, let's move as a team. 2 pushed up through underneath and then 2 pushed through lobby as well, and it was just overwhelming. The Back2Classic boys, unfortunately, just couldn't deal with the sheer amount of pressure from Aspire off the spawn. And now Aspire have gone up the other end and they're pulling another flag, but it doesn't look like it's going to work out as you see 2 red X's on your screen.
I think Flux is aware that there might be someone who's trying to be a bit disruptive behind, just sort of checking the power up and going back to his flag. Might have got to call out a little bit of a miscommunication there from Aspire Esports. And something we noticed earlier is those tiny little moments as we get deeper into the tournaments. Little moments like that, we spend a little bit too much time maybe turning around, looking for that one player. It gives the good teams opportunities to create opportunities on the map and maybe put some pressure on that you wouldn't do if that call out had been more correct and standard, should we say.
Sandal, unfortunately, not able to do anything with his sniper just because of the sheer pressure from 2Foxy as well. Goes for the no-scope. Actually, it was a quick scope he went for. But it was Flux who was able to stay alive on his own for quite some time, which just meant Back2Classic were reluctant to push into the base because they didn't know where Flux was. They were a little bit scared because you never know, he could have been lurking around a corner and then he would have been able to take you out. And that's rockets in the hand of Aspire as well.
Yeah, Jimbo announcing himself here with a nice double kill. That's 3 dead now for Back2Classic. And Jimbo's going to have the last player in front of him, and I think he might have been bodied there by a sniper rifle looking over him like a guardian angel from top middle. And now he's waiting for his teammate to move in. Flux is the player with the sniper rifle. This is the perfect opportunity for a flag cap. All he has to do here is stop Sandel moving forward, and this should well be a flag cap going to Aspire.
Cleverly just ducking out of the way there. He knew he wasn't going to get the sniper rifle shot. It was going to be a difficult no-scope to go for, so he ducked down underneath so he could actually support Riot's running his flag. And that's a really clean run. I know it wasn't a perfect setup. Wasn't a perfect setup, but finally Perry gets the kill. But they were able to work with what they've got, and I think that's what some of the better teams do. Even when the setup isn't clean, they make it work.
A couple of whiff shots there from 2Fox. He didn't count too much, caused too much pressure to fall onto his teammates' shoulders, but we're seeing Sandel 1 pushing top middle. Nice couple of kills falling again, and have to give some credit here to the way that Back2Classic are pushing up the map. They are being aggressive as soon as they drop a shield or 2. They are trying to get into the faces and not be afraid of Aspire Esports, because sometimes that's kind of half the battle, Dan, that mental battle, knowing that you are the lesser team.
You can be very intimidated by some of the names that are on your screen right now, and you don't want to get into BR fights with them, you don't want to get into sniper duels with them because you feel like you are inferior. But actually, there has been confidence from Back2Classic. They've been more than happy to push into lobby to take these battles. It hasn't worked every single time, but it's worked some of the time, and I think that gives you more confidence than going into the rest of the series and the rest of the game as well.
2Foxy here using the geometry of the map, using those pockets to now get behind Boinsey. Doesn't manage to finish the kill, and now he's going to have a 1v1 of his own. Boinsey jumps around to help out his teammate there, finish off that kill, and that's another kill that's kind of gone missing here. 2Foxy not looking too sharp on the old BR shots. And look at this now, Jimbo's under pressure. Once again, Back2Classic are looking to put pressure on themselves, but Flux is going to shut it down here. Last player alive, I think, is actually this player here, who'll be taken down by Jimbo. And that should be not only the flag going home, but a sniper rifle now in his hands.
Great communication from Aspire. Jimbo, yes, he was under pressure, but he just waited and he knew that Flux had a position where he could take down the flag. As soon as he regained those shields, as soon as he saw Flux drop, he just went to clean everything up. He knew everyone was going to be weak, and now Jimbo on attack.
Jimbo finding one headshot, has to back up though. Again, the pressure coming from top middle. And those red X's are going to make his life very difficult. Nice grenades here. And once again, 3 players fall in quick succession here for Aspire Esports. The attempted insta-splode towards the back of the flag there. And it was a big play from Flux to keep his flag at home, to be honest with you there. If he doesn't get that kill, well, things could be looking very, very different here for Aspire, and now another player's going to fall.
Yeah, Flux, who is probably the least experienced on Halo 3 out of these 4 players, actually showing very veteran experience with some of the plays I've seen of him just staying alive, especially when he's the last man, getting some decent grenades out to ensure that he can't be pushed easily. Sandal not able to get that no-scope. That could have been a big no-scope, would have allowed him to continue with that top middle control.
I think he did manage to catch him in the body to drop the shields, but it wasn't enough, and now Flux is going to be desperately seeking around, trying to swat flies away from himself as he does get taken down. But 2Foxy's been as objectively efficient as he can here. Riot is the player in position to try and support him. Manages to pick up 1 kill here on Lil Sandal, manages to pick up the second one there on Big Boy Sandal. There's a third one in front of him, but Boinsey comes in, but all of the work done from Riot's here. Big Daddy Riot's opening the way for Jimbo to run the third and final flag back. Dan Gaskin That's going to be the first game to Aspire.
Yep, just being patient as well, waiting for shields to come up just in case, but easy as you like. Very comfortable from Aspire. There was a few worrying, shaky moments where Back2Classic were able to push into their base and get some flags away, but some very experienced plays from the likes of Flux, from the likes of Foxy, were able to stop those flags from being pulled. So a very solid performance from their game one as they look to potentially get into Championship Sunday with a victory in this series.
I mean, it was solid, but I wouldn't say it was convincing, if I'm honest with you, in comparison to maybe some of the other performances that we've seen, some of those higher seeded teams coming into the tournament, especially the European teams. So certainly some things to work on there. Maybe not one of their stronger particular game times, but looking across the board statistically, it's going to be what you would expect, to be honest with you. You can see everyone, apart from 2 Foxy, managing to put up a small positive in a relatively short game there. No real surprises, but good performances there from Sandel and Royal Boinsey. Yeah,
Boinsey, he had some big kills actually pushing into lobby with grenades. They seem to be fairly accurate. He knows how to use a battle rifle as well. And I think that's what happens when you get to this stage, or when we go back to a game like Halo 3 that has been played for years upon years. Everyone knows how to play the game. And when you come back to it, you have a natural feel. Okay, your aim might not be perfect, but your movement is what is going to help you and get you into positions where it doesn't even matter if you miss a couple of shots, because you're going to have the upper hand, because you're going to be behind someone, or you're going to be able to have an angle where they can't shoot you back as well.
The interesting thing here for the guys on Back2Classic is the fact that the next game type that we're going into is one of those fast-paced Slayer BR-only maps on Amplified. So maybe we did see them winning some important 1v1 battles there on Narrows. Maybe if they get out to a hot start here, there might be just a little spark of belief that starts to get... Once again, I was going to say ignited, but I had to pull myself back. It's just... Can we change the name of the event?
Do you want me to write down that word and just like slap you every time?
I'll back it. I'm going on to the source.
Okay, I'll focus on this game for now, and I think this is going to be a better game for Aspire. I know you said it's quite a fast-paced action, and there's going to be a lot of VR-heavy battles, and it is a chance for Back2Classic to maybe cause an upset. I think this kind of map is going to be great for a team of this wealth of knowledge, because they're going to know how to manipulate and move around the map. But as I say, that has been a great start from Back2Classic. Wow. Can we call them BTC, or is that...
I'm struggling enough with words. Don't put more things in my head at the moment. But look at this start here from Back2Classic. They really are just raining down shots. There's a storm here in Twickenham, and it's inside the arena that we're playing in at the moment. It's on Amplified. At the moment, Aspire Esports without an umbrella, Dan.
But I don't think that matters. You can see how quickly they've managed to close that gap, because they know where they need to be pushing on the map. Even if you're down by 3 or 4 kills, that's only one set of spawns, and you can come back into it and you can just turn it around so quickly. And all they're doing is just holding the right angles. Look, top B, very comfortable for him, top P for him, and there's no real chance of anyone answering him back when he's got so many different things to hide behind, as well as having the support of his teammates. Just get a nice team BR, and they've gained a 3-kill lead because of it.
Yeah, Flux had to be aggressive there because he only had a couple of bullets left in the clip, and now you're going to see the train starts to roll here for Aspire Esports, pushing across top gold, putting some shots down on the player here, jumping top middle on that little couch. But again, you have to give credit here to the way the Back2Classic are playing this. They're not overextending, they're not getting caught out one by one. They really are making Aspire work for these kills. But as I say that, you're slowly starting to see them get picked apart. Those stuttered respawns are really starting to hurt them, and now at 17-12 and a killing spree to Flux. You can see why they're such a tough team to beat.
Yeah, this is the thing, you say like they're being patient and they're not pushing out as much, but that is actually allowing Aspire to gain map control, and the way they're maneuvering around the map together, they're just picking them off one by one. They are saying, all right, they're going to be spawning gold, or they're going to be spawning B or A, and they're moving and pincering, which is making it very difficult for Back2Classic to actually really lay down any tough shots, because they're just stuck in a corner. Again, stuck between a rock and a hard place was little Sandal and Sandal there, and now suddenly they're 10 kills behind, and it's very difficult to overturn like a 10 to 15 kill deficit on this map.
And the scary thing is as well, it all started with that like a consecutive 4 dead, all 4 players falling within a second or so of each other, causing that respawn to come in at the same time. And on Amplified, I really feel it's one of the most unforgiving Slayer maps when you do get a 3 or 4 dead, because the spawns are so tightly packed together that if you can locate those spawns as quickly as possible, when you're coming off the respawn alongside teammates, you don't know where they are initially. You can't relocate your reticle to fight back. Before you know, you've already lost a couple of shots as Rice is looking for an overkill, has to settle for the triple, but how this score has just spiraled out of control. 10 kills the difference now between the two teams.
One of the things Lethal was talking about on the Analyst couch was that is there going to be enough firepower in this squad? We've got a lot of leaders. Is there going to be enough Slayer ability? And I mean, I was wondering the same thing when I looked at the roster. Riot's, yes, okay, he is clearly a monster when it comes to slaying, but then you've got 3 players who are very kind of methodical about the way they play Halo. However, I think Flux has really stepped up into a position that maybe he's not usually used to playing, and it's working out for him. It looks great with his playstyle.
I think another thing we have to remember is if we go back to the early Epsilon days of Halo 5, Jimbo was that guy. He was that guy. Him and Snipe Drone were the ones who were racking up kills. The Bucks doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So maybe it's just a little bit of a, you know, winding back the clock a couple of years here for Jim to just find himself in those positions that he feels comfortable in once more. And we are going to watch the point of view of Jimbo here as he looks to jump up to the top of gold and lay down those shots on the players. With a spawning red side, that grenade is going to do a lot of damage, and Boinsy here, Jimbo's just trying to bait him out, doing so much damage. And again, we're seeing those 3 players all spawning almost simultaneously, this time on the pink side of that.
49-31, and it was a very tight game to begin with, but as we would have expected, Aspire just towards the latter stages of the game, starting to get in a real flow of things, starting to set up in the right areas and finding those spawns and making it very difficult for Back2Classic off those spawns. And now they go 2-0 up, and they are 1 game away from going into the championship bracket.
And Jimbo, Jimmy, 20 kills there on Amplified for him. Not bad.
It's not bad indeed. Only 8 deaths as well, plus 12. Riot's also going big, and then you've got the assists. Flux and Foxy just raining down fire. I mean, Foxy's always been that kind of player. He's a player who shoots everything.
He's a play-to-win kind of guy, isn't he?
Exactly. He'll do what is required to get the job done, but he also doesn't miss. He has a great aim. And if you can just fire 3 shots into someone, make them weak, and then look at someone else and be able to call that out, it's always amazing to have a player like that on your team.
So Aspire obviously looking very, very good again. One of these kind of tier 1 teams we would say potentially at this event. Back2Classic again. Struggling somewhat. 3-0 the first game, as you can see there on Narrow's capture the flag. 50-31, managed to just avoid that steak dinner just by the 1 kill. Next up we have Guardian Oddball, and this is one of those big boy game types, as I call it. The time-based game types I really think separate the top echelons of teams that we do have at these events. So many different factors to tie in together. You have power-ups, you have the power weapons, you have the movement of the objective, you have control of respawns. It really is a fantastic facet of it's a fantastic game type of every single facet of Halo 3, and what makes it such a fantastic game.
Well, I think Guardian Oddball should be a game type that Aspire are going to be very good at. I mean, I'm sure they played it plenty online, but on LAN, they've got that experience. They know exactly where they want to be putting that ball, and against a team like Back2Classic, they should be able to thrive in this kind of scenario because they have a chance now to really practice some of their setups. It may mean that they might not win the game as convincingly as they possibly could. They might be trying out a couple of things, saying, all right, okay, let's try and put the ball in this position. Does this setup work? Are we comfortable playing this way at this tournament, or do we have to go for a different setup? Should we be going for easier setups like a sniper rifle instead of blue? So this will be an interesting game. For the side of Back2Classic, though, when you're down 2-0 in a series and you get pitted with an Oddball Guardian, that's not a nice way to try and get back into the series.
Yeah, especially as you say, it's kind of there's no end in sight almost in some of these games. And you know you're playing to 50 kills in a Slayer, you know, in a flag-based game type. Obviously playing to that flag capture limit. If it's five flags, excuse me, or 3 flags. But the time-based ones, you never know. It's always that kind of, is this going to be a long, drawn-out process where Jimbo's just going to sit there, he's going to be melting us for the entire map and put up huge statistics. Well, I think Aspire just want to get this one done, to be honest with you. I think they want to get their way into tomorrow, go away, and have a real good think about how they want to come back.
I think if it was their first series of the day, then maybe you'd see them just try and pad their stats a little bit and try and just warm up and get their kills sorted, but they don't need to, as there's headset problems again. Are they smelling the headset again? What's happening? I don't know what was going on.
Smelling the headset. I
don't know why that was happening, but you know, people have their different things.
There's been 2 things which have been firsts for me at this event, which is one teammate warming up his teammate's hands for him, rubbing his hands. Did you see that?
I didn't. How was he doing that?
That was so peculiar.
So
one player was holding his hand out.
Yep.
His teammate was rubbing either side. So you put your hand out.
Yep. Okay.
Don't come back to us on camera. This is really weird.
Okay. That's bizarre.
That was one thing that I saw today.
Your hands are also very rough. Just want to point that out. You need moisturizer.
I do moisturize them.
Oddball, play ball.
Screw you, Dan. These are workers' hands. Game number 3 of the series, Aspire Esports against Back2Classic. Aspire looking to close this one out now. It should be a fairly simple job for them to complete the 3-0 sweep. Jimbo doing what he can to stay alive top middle at the moment, and all of that action that he's managed to divert towards his Spartan means that Flux has managed to walk in, pick up the camouflage, pick up the Mauler, and smartly as well, stay alive with this camouflage as well, as he puts a couple of extra shots on that player just as he was about to land the Mauler beatdown. Kabam, he gets killed.
Was that team nade as well?
I think so.
Quite possibly. I think the Mauler is something that's very much underrated on Guardian. I think obviously the top players know that it's something you can very much pick up and make an impact with. Was that a little bit of teabagging I just saw?
There was a lot of teabagging.
That seems unnecessary. What have Back2Classic ever done to Aspire? Maybe that's a question for Wonderboy to ask.
Don't worry about Classic. I got your back. If that was Riot, I know he's tall, but I know a man called Dan Gaskin, and he will sort any problems out that you have. Anyway, Jimbo now moving towards top green. Little Sando is going to be melted quicker than an ice cream in the summer.
You say that.
Still melted.
There we go. Finally, the sun penetrates through the glass window. And now, this is going to be an opportunity for Aspire to grab this ball and get some real ball time. Moving it over towards green, they'll probably position themselves at elbow. Jimbo's going to have top green, which means he can watch both top middle and bottom middle and make it very difficult for them to get this ball back.
Yeah, 26-0, and one thing I'm going to keep my eye on in this game is how efficient they are once they get those kills to racking up ball time. I know Jimbo knows there's another player around, and managed to sneak behind enemy lines here and get that ball off the map as well to get that reset. So a good play there from someone on Back2Classic, as Foxy just about has enough grip on the bottom of his trainers to hold on. And it's Foxy who's teabagging. Everybody take note of that, because we all know teabagging in a series, until it's won, is never a good idea.
I wonder if that means that he got teabagged a little bit earlier, so it's a revenge teabag. I always like to look at the psychology of teabags. Why are you doing it? Are you going to do it
Your
again?
thesis was one, wasn't it?
Do you only, yeah, I actually wrote an entire paper on it at university, and the conclusion I came to was that teabagging is great fun, and I see nothing wrong with it.
Sandell 2 here, down at bottom green. Into Riots will be challenging him and simply winning the battle. 2 kills now fall to Foxy, and pretty simple jump to top green. He made it look quite difficult here by Foxy after picking up that kill. But again, the one thing that I'm slightly concerned about here for Aspire is the one thing that I was keeping my eye on, which is how efficient are they going to be at picking up that oddball and putting that time on the ball? Because at 26-12, with 3 minutes of the game already gone, I mean, for me, that's a concern.
As I said, though, I think we take this game with a pinch of salt, because I do feel like Aspire are going to be trying a couple of new things, and also Back2Classic perhaps won't be playing the game as we might see other top European players play. It might be a little bit more sporadic, they might be a little bit more all over the place, a bit more unpredictable, unorthodox, and that can be sometimes very difficult to play against. I feel like if this was a more constructed game of Oddball Guardian, then we might see Aspire actually performing better, but instead they're having to readjust their playstyle to try and match the unorthodox nature of Back2Classic.
Well, at the moment they're down. And they're going to have to turn things around pretty quickly. A nice little setup there towards blue. Will Sandell and his teammate putting some shots down on the player top mid to take him down. Now Jimbo again pushing, moving this ball now towards bottom gold. He's actually going to use the little jump to get it over to Garden here and manages to stay alive. So potential for a setup here around blue, around gold. Foxy picking up the first kill in this team fight. And as you see those players fall, Jimbo trying to rotate that ball across. Foxy now will pick up another kill, almost gets all 4. But that will be all 4 players dropping there for Back2Classic, and this must be huge time on the board here for the guys on Aspire.
Especially with a sniper rifle as well, as long as Riot's can start hitting some shots, but he gets a camouflage, so decent work from Aspire to ensure that they're also timing everything at the same time. I did enjoy how Jimbo just was, he almost got fed up, they were losing, he was like, fine, I'll go top middle, I'll get the ball, guys. And you need someone on the team that can actually be prepared to do that. I know slaying is fun, getting kills is great, but winning is better.
Ball taken. Ball drop.
Flux has managed to pick up or kill on the ball carrier, trying to just escape with it there. And oh!
Taken.
Big Daddy Riots. That's a shot that we won't be forgetting too quickly, and now trying to relocate his reticle to anyone who's just peeking up elbow. But speaking of peeking, there's someone who's sneaky peeking S3 at the moment and dropping his shields. And maybe just a little bit of an over-challenge there, got a little bit overzealous, a bit thirsty for those kills.
Yeah, he didn't really need to stay there. He could have repositioned, but at the same time, it did allow his teammates to reposition themselves into some good areas with the ball. So even though he sacrificed himself, it was for the greater good.
2 players pushing top mid here. 3 players are going to fall to Aspire, so last player alive will be the ball carrier. He's about to come under pressure, so don't be surprised to see a play ball coming in here. Jimbo is the player who Fatal Ferocity is desperately trying to find and does find him. Gives him a little tap on the back of the head, just say, unlucky son, maybe next time. And here comes Boinsey with the mauler. Good team shot though from Aspire, and whoa, Flux gives the ball carrier a little haircut.
Very quick sensitivity from Flux as well. I know this is something you and Tom were talking about earlier on today, about having a high sensitivity and how it can help certain aspects of your game, but it also can be detrimental in other aspects. But I'd say Flux has looked fairly solid from what I've seen from him so far today.
Ball drop.
Well, now he's got the sniper rifle in his hands, and just as he looks away, that timing can be so frustrating as a player. You've been holding down that angle, hard scoping in. And the quick scope that time was enough to drop a shield. Dropping shields with the sniper rifle, it's not all about kills, it's about keeping your opponents at bay, pinning them back into these positions. Because if you can't get across the map, I know it sounds so simple, but you can't stop that ball carrier racking up that time.
Also, sometimes just standing in a position where your opponents can actually see you've got the sniper rifle, intimidate them to be scared to push out through top middle and force them into blue, saying, all right, well, we're going to have to push him in a different way. This is what has happened. Back2Classic have been able to push him eventually, but more ball time has been eaten up by Aspire, and they've been able to move over to green, and that allows them to either play the ball or move it over towards gold.
Well, they managed to get a couple of power weapons in their hands here, Aspire. Back2Classic. And Jimbo should be taken down here with that odd ball. He's trying to rotate it maybe towards some of those respawning players on his team. You can see 2 Foxy off respawn there. Is it blue? Gets killed from gold. So you can see the idea behind the rotation there from Aspire Esports, and they've kept that ball alive. So nice job moving that odd ball towards the respawners. And sometimes you love to see it from those top tier teams, the way that they rotate the ball towards respawners when they are losing fights across the map.
So what separates the best teams from the average teams is ball rotation. It's one of the reasons why I love oddball so much and why I miss oddball for the time that we didn't have it during Halo 5. You can have a player who is just very good at rotations and very knowledgeable about the game and spawns. They might not be the greatest shooters in the world, but actually their ball movement and their knowledge puts them up there with some of the best players in the world. And that's what I love about Halo 3, because you've got all these different varieties, all these different skills that can make you into a top player if you have them.
We're going to see a blue hold here from the guys on Aspire Esports, and now that time is starting to finally go in the direction that they really wanted it to. 92 to 47. Jimbo comes in to clean up 1 kill, and I think he's going to work with a teammate here to potentially pick up another one. Boinsy's got a sniper rifle though, and he was picking up a few blaners himself as he moves up towards S3, but jumping up and down that high up just allows Jimbo to land those shots and pretty much take the sniper out of commission for the time being.
Ball drop.
Now you're seeing the push come in towards blue. Boinsy with that sniper rifle top middle. Flux should be taken down here. And another player here spawn behind. But Boinsy gets the timing on that respawn. That could have been bad here. And now you can see Back2Classic moving that ball once again towards green. And this is an opportunity for them to rack up a bit of time, as we also see a camouflage pop in as well.
Still definitely a chance for Back2Classic to get back into this game as well. If they can pick up some big slays and hold on to some of these setups that they're trying to actually position themselves with, then they should be in a good stead. But giving away a sniper rifle isn't great, but I think that was actually a trade of a kill. So it's not the end of the world as Aspire are just desperately trying to fight their way into the sniper. The ball is going to be played, so they did enough, did Aspire, just to disrupt the setup, to scare Back2Classic into throwing the ball off the map.
You can see Flux is coming under pressure from both sides at the moment. He's done a great job of staying alive for that long, to be honest, because it's allowed his teammate Rights here to pick up that camouflage and move in on S1, takes down 1. I think he's going to be moving in for that sniper rifle as well. Camouflage, that expires. But the sniper rifle is certainly going to be useful, but the grenade gets stuck in the floor. And that's going to be very counterintuitive.
And I'm sure that some of the other top European teams will be keeping a close eye on this, seeing how Aspire are doing in this group. A victory here would have them at 3-0, and they would get through the Swiss stage. But maybe they're watching this game and thinking, hey, Aspire don't actually look as dominant as maybe we would expect them to. Again, I will reiterate, taking this game with a pinch of salt. Are they putting 110% into the game?
They should be.
I know they should be, but are they? Would be my question. Because it's very easy when you're 2-0 up in a series, when you're 2-0 in Swiss, and you're so close to going 3-0. You can drop the ball a little bit, and you can kind of reduce your percentage to about 75 and still get a victory.
Boise, that was a beautiful little headshot there on Jimbo, who was clutching onto the oddball for dear life, but dear life was taken away from him as quick as the oddball was dropped. Now Boise's going to have that oddball, and he also has a mauler in the back pocket, so if anyone drops down S1 here, he's going to be able to take that fight. Here comes Riots. You don't miss your beatdown of Riots, because he'll make you pay.
Unfortunately, though, he can't get that sniper rifle. We did see it spawn there. That's going to be another sniper rifle potentially going in the hands of Flux if he did get that call out, and I'm sure he'll be walking over. But whenever you know a sniper rifle is up, you could always expect an enemy to be also trying to pick it up too, and we saw some big kills from Boise earlier. He has an incredible fast sensitivity as well. I'm used to watching teammates with sense 1 and 2 walking around the map. These guys look like they're on 7 or 8.
Well, Boise here, I think he spotted out a camo player who had dropped down at the moment, so we'll keep an eye and see if there is. It is actually S2, there's that camo player. And he's broke this setup almost single-handedly. It's Jimbo who has managed to pick it up, but he's going to be taken down almost immediately. But look at the score here. Last player alive is going to pick up a kill. That was Riot, so big kill from him to stop that ball time being racked up. But slightly concerning moments here. 3:43 left on the clock. Interesting to say that.
Illuminati confirmed.
You see Tsquared maybe having to do a little bit more hard work and heavy lifting than he would like at this point. 3:26 left on the clock, but around 20-30 points between the two teams. And on paper, you probably wouldn't have said that.
Yeah, this is getting a little bit too close for comfort now. If I was talking about Aspire maybe not playing 110%, well, I think you start giving it a little bit more oomph now, if that was something that was even a possibility, because this game could very easily get away from you. 20 seconds or 20 to 30 seconds is quite an easy amount of time to get back. You just need one really solid setup, and when you've got a sniper rifle as well, and you get that ball into a decent position, you should be able to find yourself in good stead.
Two players going to be top gold here. Boise snipes one out of the air. The other one's not daring peek, and why would you after that shot? It's taken down to no shields with that nice little body check. Jimbo trying to put some pressure on S3, but this is a perfect setup here, and if they hold this setup and they get that first kill, which they just have, there's the second one. There's a chance for 20 or 30 seconds to be put on the board here for Back2Classic.
Yeah, this is a massive wake-up call for Aspire. They can't be affording to drop maps against a team like Back2Classic, in my opinion. If they want to go on and if they want to have a chance to win this tournament or get to the late stages, they need to be performing better than this.
I think Boise just overextended there. He knew that player was in blue, and when you're at Snipe Tower, I just feel like sometimes that has to be the focus of your attention to stop those players lifting over. Two Foxys managed to steal in with a camouflage, puts the ball into his teammates' hands. And they're currently chasing the game. Back2Classic have around a 10-point lead with 1:53 left on the clock, and Boise here has managed to pick the ball up as well. Jimbo has to do some work to keep them off of ball time. There's still a player there. Jimbo's going to have a 1v1 here unless Riots gets involved. A play ball will be absolutely massive for Back2Classic, and Fatal Frosty manages to pull it off.
Yeah, with the advantage, it means Back2Classic can kind of just sit, watch this ball, bait it. There's Flux. He does manage to pick it up, but he's going to fall. And now Back2Classic just need to focus on slaying, keep them away from that ball, and they can win this game, but they are kind of trapped at blue at the moment, and there is going to be ball time available for Riot on the elbow. And with a play ball in a tactical situation here, they should be able to go into the final minute with a lead.
Players are going to be pushing S2 here, so Jimbo's going to have some work to do. He doesn't quite spot that player out. Backs down, tries desperately to stay alive. Has some assistance here from 2Foxy, and 2Foxy does keep Jimbo alive. They're in the lead by 2 seconds or so.
1 minute.
There's 3 dead though. That's the
60
final
seconds left on the clock, and maybe one more push here. What a result this would be if Back2Classic can take game number 3. But they've got to play this one perfectly, and shots like that from Jimbo are just going to slow this all down.
At the moment though, Aspire, they're just slaying, and they're hoping they can keep them away from the ball. They
get
toss
one
it
kill
towards green though. If they can pick up that ball, they can potentially finish this right here, right now.
Short lift. That's absolutely devastating in that particular point of the game, and I think that will be the game. 30 seconds left on the clock.
Oh, no.
Just as I say that, Riot's now in a 1v1. Riots wins that 1v1. Boise desperately trying to stay alive. 3 seconds and 3 points the difference between these two teams. Is there an upset in the waters here at Twickenham? Jimbo throws that one down to green. There is a teammate there. And that is going to be the game, I believe. You can see all the players, I think, have realised the situation. Couple of seconds left just to see the time limit out. And it was a scary moment there, to be honest with you, for Aspire Esports. They get the win, they get the 3-0. But it did not look too convincing.
Yeah, a couple of shake of the heads from the boys, but they got the job done. They are going to be moving forward into the championship bracket, and I think that's all they wanted from the Swiss stage. I'm sure that we will see more from these boys and see what they can actually do in games like that against some of the higher seeded teams in the tournament. But if you can play relatively badly and still come out with a result and still get a victory, then that's all that really matters. But they will definitely need to be more focused when they come up against some of the bigger teams.
Yeah, look at the statistics here, and no surprise to see everyone going big positive. Jimbo there, lots of assists, lots of ball time, and the +1 for him. On the other side, it's fairly tight affair as far as Slays are concerned, but it's just that efficiency in oddball, and I always feel like those time-based game types are the ones where you really have to be on top of your game. Everything needs to be firing to have success, whether that's individual skill, communication, rotation, like I've talked about. And the concern for me is that when we have seen some of those big teams that we have at the tournament, the likes of Tox Gaming, they are not making those mistakes. And if someone really wants to push them, you know, and give them a really good series, it needs to be better than that.
It does indeed, and at the moment I'm struggling to see whether, well, I don't know if I believe the fact there is a chance for any of these European teams against Tox. From what I saw earlier against Tox and how Tox have been playing in this tournament, I need to see something a little bit more from some of the top European teams. However, we've not seen them all play on stream yet. I do think Aspire are showing a lot of potential. I know the ability that there is between these four guys, but that wasn't the best performance on Guardian Oddball, but it could be one of their weaker game types. You never know. You do have weak game types in Halo 3. We've seen that historically. Some teams just perform better on other maps.
I mean, yes, but then that Narrows wasn't too convincing. The start of the AMP, I mean, it ended up fairly convincing, we'll give them that. But that one was certainly not convincing. Only a few seconds the difference between the two teams, and with players of such pedigree and established placements across their careers, maybe some things to work on. This is where the coaches do earn their money.
But
Go
again,
back, look at the VOD.
It can come down to playing a team that plays slightly different, and they're not as predictable, and they are a bit all over the place, and it forces you to play differently, and you can't play with the structure maybe you would like. Whereas when they go up against the likes of Tox or the likes of Mesa, some of the other big teams that we see in the tournament, they're both going to be trying to fight for the same kind of structure, the same kind of setups, which makes it more of a methodical game and less of a messy one. And we've always seen that throughout the history of Halo. We see teams prefer to play other better teams just because they're trying to do the same thing, and it almost becomes a game of chess rather than a game of checkers.
Wenzy did have a pretty good performance, hitting some nice shots, as we can see here in the replays. Power-up control, you have to say, in general, did go to Aspire as well, which, you know, is good. But again, maybe didn't come out with the results that they would have wanted, considering that they had so much power-up control, especially with the camouflage. I just don't... the worry for me is there were so many holes that I could see Tox just punching through if they play against them. I'm going to be, you know, honest. I want to see the EU teams do well, but they weren't good enough. Like, if they play like that against Tox, they get slapped.
Are Aspire worrying about Tox, though?
Finished.
Like, right now?
They should be.
Should they?
Of course they should be.
Should they right now?
Tox is the first seed.
Aspire didn't even...
If you come into a tournament and you're not concerned about the first team and you see yourself as one of the top teams, your mentality is in the bin
But
already.
I think they should focus on the task at hand first and getting past the other two European teams who outplaced them during the qualifiers. I mean, Aspire didn't even get one of the spots to actually achieve funding here. So they're probably thinking, let's take one step at a time. If we can actually get to a final and face Tox, then we'll focus on that. Because at the moment, like, they are not one of the teams that will be facing Tox, because the other teams have just been performing better online, but it's online to LAN, transition, slightly different.
Well, let's see how Jimbo feels about that. He's down on the floor right now with Wonderboy. What's he got to say?
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I'm here with Jimbo. Jim, that last game, a little bit hairy, but overall a 3-0 series. What are your thoughts after that kind of game that you just had?
A bit shaky from us. It wasn't the way we want to. You know, we don't want it to be that close. We feel like we should be winning a lot more. I think we're just getting into it. It's the first kind of team that's really shot back versus us. Like, we got a bye, and then we played like SLG's team. They didn't really shoot back. So we're just slowly getting more and more into the tournament, getting used to LAN again and stuff like that. But yeah, it was really shaky. But just a couple mistakes in our half, and should be better after next time.
So 3-0 now in the Swiss. We only saw you once on stream, however, in that last series. If you could give a grade on your team's performance throughout the other Swiss games, you said you had a bye in game 1, but that other game as well, do you feel like maybe there's more improvements to be made?
Oh, definitely more improvements. You can always get better. You know, like I said, then our second match was against SLG's roster, which are just a makeshift. You know, like we ran through them in the space of 20 minutes. You know, it wasn't really much practice. It was just more shooting. But no, definitely room for improvement. I mean, at the moment, I'd probably say we're playing maybe like a B, you know, to give a score for it. You know, there's a lot to improve on. We just got to get back into our like synergy and the way we want to play.
Obviously, you're going to be a contender for the crown at the end of the entire tournament. Do you feel like there's more pressure on you as a European team to defend on home turf with the likes of Tox Gaming here?
Oh, definitely so. You know, we want to win on our own soil. You know, we don't want to have, you know, other people coming over and winning our event. You know, we want to prove that, you know, this is our country. We want to win. So definitely there's pressure there, but sometimes, you know, you can build off that pressure and use it against the other teams. You know, we have the upper hand, we have the home crowd, you know, stuff like that can go in our way. So, yeah, to summarize, yeah, definitely a bit of pressure, but I think we can make it work.
Awesome, Jim. Thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on the win. Guys at home, please do not go anywhere. When we are back, we will be seeing more Halo 3 action at the FACEIT Ignite Halo European Open.